Welcome to PCMC. I'm Mike Bongiorno. It's Halloween 2022. Still rolling along.
Oh boy.
Still flying along on its little broom, this little Swiffer. I'm here with Anthony, Nama, what's his name? Mona. What's the name of the fucking fake god they made up for the craft?
Oh, Manon.
Manon. No, I thought it's French, so you don't do the N. You go Mana. Anthony Mana, Buongiorno, and of course Janine Guillotine Gagliardi.
As always.
Always. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing swell. How are you?
Very good. You're having a good Halloween. You know what? You having a good Halloween time?
You did so much cocaine before we started.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to know. No, I'm doing. Yeah, the fall vibes have been immaculate.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. And how's your Halloween season going?
Oh, it's going great. I'm fresh off of a Disney trip.
Yes.
It was decorated for Halloween. Mickey pumpkins everywhere. You did ask me if the big Mickey pumpkin was there. It was not. I walked all over Magic Kingdom, and then I was watching some YouTube videos of Disneyland. The big pumpkin is there.
Oh, maybe it's only there.
I don't know if it's also in Disney World. Maybe they just didn't take it out this year, but it's out and
They're
about.
like, let's not
Disneyland.
do it this year. I don't want to do it.
But there's really cool scarecrows like right in the front, right before you get down to Main Street proper.
Is the castle like decked out for Halloween?
So the castle is just in its 50th birthday year. Ooh, yeah, which is really pretty. It's like pink and purple and blue and gold, and it's very nice. I wasn't like super keen on it at first, but seeing it in person, you're like, oh wow, no, this is really pretty. Because I thought it looked too much like Sleeping Beauty's castle in Disneyland, but and I also just like the gray and blue. I like, Civil War colors. I love it. But it's very, very cool. It's like it was 90 degrees and humid every day, but they have all kinds of fall stuff on the menu. I had a moment where I was walking through the park with the Binks cattail pastry, which was delicious, and the Witch's Brew pumpkin cream cold brew that they sell with it, which tasted like, I don't know, Axe body spray. It tasted horrible.
Wow.
But I was
truly cursed.
Yeah,
it's a truly cursed beverage.
Really, yeah. So I was walking through the park with those both in my hand, and like I was meeting Bill with the kids at like the other end of a bridge, and 4 different people were like, "Ooh, what's that? Ooh, what is that?" And it was just like such a fun looking drink, but it did taste like ass. So there was that. At the Cheshire Cafe, they usually sell a Cheshire cat tail, which is like a chocolate pastry. Delicious. It's really nice. But they changed it to the Binks cattail for Halloween, and then they sell cold brew with like pumpkin foam, and it has like cute sprinkles on it, and it's called like the Witch's Brew cold brew. So I got that with it, of course, and it was so bad, but the pastry was excellent. So
do you mean Thackeray?
Thackeray, as I think we've said many times in the past, that I thought it was Zachary, and so did many others.
Of course,
I'm vindicated. No, I'm vindicated because I was the one kid who was like, I think it's Thackeray, and every other kid was like, are you a fucking idiot? Of course, it's not Thackeray.
Yeah.
And then the internet came along and vindicated me.
You damn right. You damn right.
Well, fresh off my Disney, I have gifts because we always exchange Halloween gifts.
Yes.
And I at our last meeting to do our Halloween episode, I had like some stickers because I knew we were going to Disney, and I was like, here you go, here's a little taste of the Haunted Mansion for you. So we went to Memento Mori. So you know what, I'll do Jen's gifts first because
fuck her.
Come on.
All right, let's see.
So all right, I got her this Hunchback pin.
Oh,
She loved the Hunchback.
She does love the Hunchback.
And it was the
most sexually charged villain song.
Very much so.
He's like,
oh yeah.
He's like, I'm a bad boy.
Yeah,
beautiful pin.
It's
beautiful.
Crazy.
I wish the audience could see. Mike was just mime jacking off.
I wish the police could see what I was doing. But then I was like, oh, it's a tiny little pin, so
Hocus
one of
Pocus,
these guys.
Plush Throne.
This is not actually from Disney. It's fresh from Kohl's, but you know what? The pin is from Disney.
It's Disney. Well, thank you so much, and tune in next week to hear me and Jen talk about Hocus Pocus as we.
Did you record this one yet?
No.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, please have her wrap herself up in this cozy.
I will.
Gift.
Have you guys seen Hocus Pocus 2?
No.
Yes.
Quick, it's not what this episode's about, but just give me a quick. Did you like it or not?
Yes.
All right.
I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, you're correct. My gifts now.
Your gift. Okay. It's from Memento Mori.
Of course it is.
Store. I checked if any of it was available on Shop Disney. A lot of it is, and I really wanted something that wasn't available
right. You
on
can
the
only get
website.
there.
So, you know what? And also, you can have the Parks bag as a souvenir because they are phasing them out. They're not going to be around anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
In Florida?
Yeah.
I have
Gross.
I don't mean to brag about my lifestyle, but I ordered an exclusive toy from Disney Tokyo, and it came in one of those park bags.
Ooh.
And you know, that's the real deal, son. What do we got here? What is this? Oh, it's the Haunted Mansion diorama of Madame Leota's seance room. Madame Leota, I believe, going to be played by Jamie Lee Curtis in the upcoming movie. Oh, I love this. I came close to getting this when I went.
Oh, really?
And then it was like your card is $1 million, and I was like, I'm going crazy. I'm pulling a little bit back, and they were like, "This is Disney. That happens."
There were two. So there's this one, and there's The Bride.
Yeah,
so I had a hard time picking, but I was like, I feel like Madame Leota's
That's
more
the correct
iconic.
one. That's the
Yeah.
correct one.
All right.
Thank you so much.
It looks
I
really
love
cute.
it.
22 pieces.
Yeah, I love it.
That's choking hazard.
Yeah.
That's all right. You know, it's not a toy. It is a diorama.
That's right.
So, as you know, we're talking about witches this month. And today we're talking about two important witch texts from the 90s. Although there's a lot of 90s this month.
A lot of 90s
'cause
witches.
The witches from the 90s, Hocus Pocus from the 90s. But I feel like Charmed.
Right.
Charmed. Did we read the trivia?
No.
Okay, so the director and creator of The Craft wrote a Craft pilot for the CW or the WB, and they were like, we're not interested. And then a year later, they came out with Charmed, and he said Charmed is very much like what his pilot was. And in his pilot, he was going to use the song.
I was going to say that song is
Right.
from the Craft movie and is the theme song to Charmed.
Right,
I
right.
always was like, why is that a witch song?
Right.
Just shot your mom.
Yeah,
Darcy is a witch.
yeah. But it's
And then
no, it's
covered
the
by Tattoo,
It's remake.
importantly.
It's no who.
Those are, oh my God, a redheaded witch and a brown-haired witch.
Perfect. Makes
No,
sense.
who sings it in the movie? It's not. It's not
No, I
really
think
the
it's
Smiths.
the original, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's some. Who the hell is it? It's some really 90s fucking name that's like, oh boy, the 90s. Ugh. You watch these movies and you get a lot of that. Ugh, the 90s.
We can spend hours just talking about the wigs.
Oh,
in that
all I
movie.
want to talk to you about. How Soon Is Now, cover by Love Spit Love.
Oh, God.
And that exact cover was used in Charmed and was in his pilot for a craft show. So he's got a good case that they
They
ripped
did
him
him
off.
dirty.
Scumbags.
But that was back when it was the WB.
This reminds me of another fun pop culture story, since we're all just chatting. When they made Lost in Space, I forget what studio made Lost, or what network made Lost in Space, but Gene Roddenberry was pitching Star Trek, and I think it was Star Trek was CBS, so it must have been NBC. NBC was like, come and pitch Star Trek to us, but they knew they weren't going to use it. But they were like, tell us, how would you do this? How would you make this show about people in space? And he
fucked up.
explained it to them, and they were like, we're going to pass. And then they used all the knowledge he gave them to make Lost in Space.
To make their Swiss Family Robinson adaptation, which is
is
what the concept
Not
is.
as good. Not as good. So yeah, I haven't said it yet. We're talking about The Craft, obviously, and we're talking about 1998's Practical Magic.
This kiss.
All right, that's enough. I don't want a copyright strike.
We're also going to sprinkle in a little Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Sure.
And Charmed. So,
Of course,
just all the
90s
text, all the text.
gestalt of witches.
And there were witches on
Some
Buffy.
Sabrina, of course. It was a witchy
It was a
time.
witchy time. It
Yeah.
really was.
It was all that dark lipstick.
Oh, yeah. Dark lipstick, dark nail polish,
Yeah.
the chokers.
So-
It was like gothic light. I love it, love it, love it.
So The Craft was 1996, and Practical Magic was 1998. We're talking about 2 movies today. Or 8 movies if you count the fact that Practical Magic is like 7 movies in one. It doesn't know what movie
yeah.
it is. It's like we're a rom-com. No, we're a supernatural thriller. No. This is like a family melodrama.
Directed by Griffin Dunn.
Griffin Dunn. I love Griffin Dunn though.
I mean, he's a nice guy, I'm sure.
Have you seen him in things?
Yeah, he's like a 90s actor.
On a movie.
Yeah, he's like that guy.
Yeah.
He's the 90s stuff.
He made love to Carrie Fisher in real life.
Who didn't though? Well,
can
he's
we
the brother of famously murdered Dominic
Is
Dunn.
he?
Yeah.
So he's the son of Dominic Dunn.
And the nephew of Joan Didion.
That's right.
Oh. Can we start by talking
Nepotism.
about our history with these films?
I would love to. Because I have a good one for The Craft.
Okay, Janine, you go first.
I don't have much of a history with The Craft.
Great, thanks, Anthony.
Good night. No, really. I've only seen it in my adulthood, like in my adult years. Like I was aware of it as a kid, but I think I thought it was too scary when it came out. And so I kind of avoided it. But I was like, I was aware of it. Practical Magic I loved. Absolutely loved. And I was like a tween, I would say, when they came out. So you figure 98, I was 11.
Sure. Perfect.
I was 11.
Perfect time to see that movie.
But when The Craft came out, I was 9, so I was not watching that.
Sure.
Too scary.
It does turn into a horror movie, like in the last act.
Yeah, it's spooky. So I adored Practical Magic. And in that article that I sent you with the Thelma and Louise.
Right, which is interesting.
Roger Ebert wrote in his original review, it's too scary for kids, but it's too like dumb for adults. Like, who is this movie for? And I'm like, me. It's for me. Yeah. I'm 11. This is a perfect movie for me.
It's for a precocious, a little bit like old for her age child.
Basically, it is a tween movie, and that's when it got me. So it's very nostalgic.
Well, I have to say, what I loved about both these films, and there's a lot they have in common. Both have hilarious people getting hit by the car scenes. But what they both have in common is they are made for a female audience, which is surprising that a movie is so old that feels so fresh, because that doesn't happen a lot. Like, these are clearly movies made for women to watch, and we don't do that really anymore.
What's interesting is making these movies both for women, like the romantic plot is really like a B plot, or maybe even a C plot in both these movies, where it's like it's more about the relationships between the women and also killing men.
Sure. Yes. And I'd say The Craft even more so, because it's about disaffected women.
Yeah.
And it's really gross. Like Breckenmeyer, playing the same person he plays in Clueless, refers to Sarah as a snail trail.
Ugh.
Absolutely disgusting thing to
Skeet
say in a
Ulrich
movie.
was like candy.
Skeet Ulrich.
Young Skeet.
His baby fat face.
He's so cute.
King of the 90s. He really was. He was like the alt boyfriend of the late 90s.
He was the 90s answer to Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And I was there for it.
What's your history?
My history is like sort of the opposite of Janine's, actually, because I definitely saw Practical Magic as a kid, but I feel like it's like one of those movies that I had only seen parts of, and I like never watched from start to finish until I was an adult. And then like my love for it has grown tremendously over the last few years, because I feel like it's going through somewhat of a renaissance. Like I feel like a lot of people are like posting about it, and I've seen like BuzzFeed articles about it. But The Craft is like a movie I feel like I grew up with, and was like one of those movies that was on cable all the time, so I've seen it like 1 million times. Practical Magic was also on HBO all the time.
Sure.
But you and I, Mike, because we are related to one another and spent a lot of time together as children, saw it together at a sleepover for the first time.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I rented it with our cousin.
We walked to
Brendan.
Blockbuster and then rented it and brought it back to the house and watched it.
He was supposed to walk with me. The deal was he was supposed to walk with me back to return it. He did not, so I didn't return it. The late fee happened. I asked him for half the money for the late fee. He refused, and we got into a 3-hour fist fight.
I remember this.
But like.
3-hour fist fight.
No,
it was
really.
incredibly slow.
No, really. It was like, imagine like little sweaty fat boy fist fight where like you keep taking fucking breaks to catch your breath, and nobody's winning at all.
And you're fighting over $5.
Oh boy. But I
did return The Craft.
That's the most 90s sentence.
It is the most 90s thing. You owe me half of my late fees on The Craft.
You were supposed to walk to Blockbuster with me. I'm not gonna walk alone. But we rented it only because it was 96, which is the year of Nev Campbell, and I had already seen...
She does own that year.
I had already seen Scream, and I was madly in love with her, and I was like, I need to see her in other things. I started watching Party of Five as well, and I have to... Practical Magic, I have no history with. I saw it for the first time, like... maybe 8 years ago, and I was like pretty high. I don't remember much about it. The thing that comes to my mind immediately is the most iconic scene, which is the margarita dancing around scene.
Okay.
Which again is its own fucking movie. I don't know.
But it's amazing. Janine and I just watched Practical Magic last weekend together. And Janine, you brought up a great point about Margarita Night.
So, okay, they are the sisters who are now adults, Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, are upstairs and they hear the blender downstairs and they go, "Midnight margaritas!" And Nicole Kidman hasn't been in the house since she was, it looks like, a high schooler.
Yeah.
So, but this is treated like it's something that happens a lot, and they're involved.
Yeah.
So, like, they were party to their aunt's midnight drinking parties as children.
We eat chocolate cake for breakfast and drink margaritas
well
in
into
the
night.
evening. Yeah. And that scene goes right into a very weird scene where they start being mean to each other with like weird Batman angles.
Yeah.
I want to live in that house.
It's such a cozy
God,
movie.
I want to live in that house.
Just very quickly, a note about the house. So I noticed that the house, I love like the staircase that goes up into like that widow's walk area of the house. But so many of these movies had that house at this time period. It was Casper had the same house. Hocus Pocus has the same type of house. Like it's just that old style of house that suggests like you're somewhere in New England, even though this is actually filmed in Washington. And I think it's supposed to be in Washington. I don't know. Although it's supposed to be in Massachusetts, but they filmed it in Washington. Okay. So I love that about this. The house. And what I was saying to you was I think it's had this resurgence recently because it's such a cottagecore movie. And like I think people are rediscovering it because they're like, oh my God, the aesthetic in this movie is outrageous.
That's what I think works the most. Like I think as a film, as drama, as a story, it really doesn't work. But I think I would still say I like it, even though it's effectively a bad movie because it's just, it has a vibe that's very, very interesting. And I think the chemistry between the two sisters, Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, is really incredible. They really do.
And the aunts. I mean, all the actresses are amazing.
Who doesn't love a spooky old aunt?
Oh my God. And that's the thing. I think the actresses, yes. Oh my God, I love that. The actresses are amazing, and I feel like the movie, it's just one of those movies that like you feel like was made with love.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, like I could feel that they like were having fun.
Actually, in that way, it reminds me of A League of Their Own. I just feel like there was a crew on this movie in terms of like everybody got along with each other. Like they all seem to bounce off each other with chemistry, and really like the guys are just very secondary. Like Aidan Quinn, I mean, who cares if he's there? I mean, I know you love him, but
well, he comes so late into the movie, and you're like, and they fall in
husband, so like I love the husband even though he never spoke.
They fall in love like rapidly.
Sandra Bullock becomes a wildly different character the minute he walks in. She's like, the first hour of the movie, they're like, she's never wanted to be one of us, and then when she's talking to him, she's like, I'm a witch, all seductively. Like, what's happening?
You point out how like aggressive and seductive she becomes when he enters the house. Like in the greenhouse, she's like, oh, she could believe in me.
Right. It's
like,
but it's weirdly like her tactic with the cops. Like,
well, Nicole Kidman's definitely is. Like, she's clearly trying to seduce him. Like, she changes into a short dress, and she's like, "Can I read your palm?" And like trying to touch him and stuff. But Sandra Bullock goes from being like someone they make fun of for like prudishness and like not speaking to men ever to like sort of coming on to him. But I think like just to meet the plot more than halfway, I think it's because like she has this incredible attraction to him. Like immediately she cannot hold back because of the spell.
Right.
Yeah, he's like the guy she created.
Yes, and she can't lie to him too in that scene where she's literally like closing her mouth and she just gets nuts because he's asking her direct questions and she cannot lie to him. Although they never explicitly say she can't, but she's playing it like she really physically can't lie to him.
Her hair in that movie is amazing.
Their hair is long, thick, luxurious. Sandra Bullock's got the wave. And Nicole Kidman's hair has never been more beautifully red. Like, oh, it's so gorgeous.
She came right off of Eyes Wide Shut to do this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
She's doing, Janine and I were talking, she's doing a lot of breath work.
Yes, she is. But she always does.
Yeah, that's her. She's
Moulin
there.
Rouge, she's also like, and she's supposed to have consumption, so she's doing it a lot more.
Yeah.
But she's just like, I don't know. Like, and she's like, every line she's breathing out.
Yeah.
Every line of Practical Magic, she's like, Sal.
Oh, Sal.
That's her deal.
It's a lot.
That's her deal.
But what a performance.
Such a mess. I love her so much.
So I guess we'll talk about Practical Magic first because that's where we are. 1998, as we said, directed by Griffin Dunn, based on a book by Alice Hoffman, screenplay by Akiva Goldsman.
Yeah.
Goldsman
Wrote the Lost in Space movie screenplay.
And the Star Trek movies and all the new Star Trek shows. Or
That's why all those spaceships were in this.
Robin Swycord and Adam Brooks. Did you read the book?
Okay, so I've listened to half of the audiobook.
Nicole Kidman breathes her way through the narration of the book.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why I haven't listened to the whole thing is because the reader, I find her voice annoying. But the book is incredibly different.
What do you know about half the book?
The ants are only in the first couple chapters. They never return.
Well, they kind of leave in this movie. They just leave the movie.
All the present day action of the book is in Long Island, not in Massachusetts. So Massachusetts house is just where they grew up, and there's flashbacks to it. But all of the stuff between the sisters in the present day is in New York, and they never go back to the house. Yeah. And then the daughters are a big part of it.
They're not a big part of the movie at all.
The relationship between the daughters, and also the magic is way less overt. Like, they never say witchcraft. They never say we're witches. There is no Owen's curse. That's not a part of it.
So what then is the plot of the book?
It's
to your knowledge.
to my knowledge, it is like you can tell that these women have something magical about them, but I think that's where the title "Practical Magic" comes from. Is it's like saying they're witches, but without saying they're witches.
Okay.
Like, they've always sort of been intuitive, and like things have always been sort of fortuitous with them, and their aunts were kind of kooky. It's not like in the movie, it's like they're wearing witch hats and people are
like, we are witches.
Witch, you're a bitch, and all that stuff.
Right.
That's not, none of that is in the book.
The town hates them for being witches until you call them, and then they love you now.
Yeah.
They're like, we'll come over and do stuff.
Again, this is please. I've only listened to the first half, but from the first half and from what I've read about the book, it is not. It's not like as witchy trademark as the movie is.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, one of the weird things in the film is Sandra Bullock's like, I'm not a witch. I don't want to be a witch, but like still uses magic and like fucking.
She uses her magic to stir her coffee, which I think is a cute character quirk.
Oh, I love the moment when at the end, when she's like got full witch and she blows the fire and she does it in front of her kids so her kids can see she's a witch.
And they're so excited.
It has a little bit of previous PCMC episode, Halloween Town in it. Of like a generation that big on witches, and then someone who like wants to like give away her witchhood or move beyond it and raise their kids not witchy. Which, now that I think about it, the kids should have more to do in it. Because, like, they even make one of the kids redheaded and one brunette. Like, it's clearly, like, they're the next generation of, old spinster ladies.
And she casts spells. The older daughter can cast a spell. She gave that kid chickenpox. So when she says...
What movie was I watching? I don't remember that.
When they're teasing, like, when they're saying, like, witch, you're a bitch to the little daughters... she's like, I hope you get chickenpox, and she points her finger. Afterwards, when Aiden Quinn is interviewing the townspeople, that kid has chickenpox.
Oh, I did not notice that. Yeah. Well, the movie, again, to its detriment, is just a series of montages. Yeah. It's one of those movies where you're like, okay, this is the plot. Oh, no, we're still setting it up. Okay, no, this is the situation we're going to be in. Oh, no. The movie doesn't start until like 35 minutes into it.
It hard turns from like fun, lighthearted
to domestic
sweet,
abuse
to insane. Like, it happens multiple times over the course of the movie. Like, you see her happy. This kiss is very loudly playing over there. God. And then like it's horrible. Like, he gets hit by a car. There's a lot of tension. But also then immediately they go to the aunt's house and there's like dark imagery. Yeah. Like, the score is really weird. Then it's like very sad right off the bat. She's like bringing the kids to the house, which I pointed out. I was like, if she's so mad at them, why did she bring them to live there? Like, did she lose her home? Like, what happened?
And then there's that incredibly close up for no reason where she's like, you two will never teach my daughter's magic. It's like, why is the camera up her nose right now? It's just such a weird cut to a close up.
Griffin Dunn was like, we're just gonna get as close as possible.
The soundtrack is gorgeous and I love it.
Of course it is.
But like, there's this scene that I love But this really threw me for a loop as a kid, where she's writing the letter and it's like so poetic, and there's this beautiful song playing, and then the phone rings and she's like, oh my God, Jillian. And she runs in the house, and then she has to go save her from a domestic situation. And then it's like a kidnapping movie.
They have a real Luke Leia thing.
Yes,
they feel
do.
each other.
Last week we were watching it like, why do they do the your blood, my blood, our blood? Like, you're already sisters.
They have the same DNA. It doesn't make sense.
Something that also happens in The Craft, though, right?
Yeah, I think that does happen.
And something
in the
that happens in...
But they are not sisters.
Yes. Something that happens in The Craft and in both versions of Witches is the presentation of snakes. Here, let me present a snake to you. I have a snake for you.
Jillian has a snake tattoo around her.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. You know what's funny? Also,
the Snake Man also
witches.
gets hit by a car. In movies, there are no brakes.
No.
If you're driving and a person comes in front, you're just going to have to run them down and murder them. And that guy... In The Craft, that guy eats it so hard. You like see him under the car, like his face getting run over. he's so fucked up.
But also, like, they warned him. They're like, Michael, watch out! And there's all these bikes, and then no one. They were like, he's fine.
Oh yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna go with the bikes. I'm
he's
gonna
like,
go
I'm
with
vibing right now. But then like. Nobody warned him about the giant truck. Like, they warned him about all the... There were, like, multiple people on the street were like, look out for those bicycles. Yeah. Don't worry about that big old truck.
I wish they could, like... Well, there was no cell phones, but I wish they could just, like, show the driver, like, looking at a phone. Right, and they'd be like, oh, shit. And then fucking hit him and...
Were those apples? Like...
So let me ask...
Was it apples that he had? That they flew in the air?
I don't know.
Something flew in the air.
Something twee and cute.
Yeah.
He flew in the air. But we learned that the ants put a spell on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. They're trifling for that. I can't. I can't believe that they. It's like I always forget that part until they say it. I'm like, wow, you bitches! Like.
But then you brought up that it was so strange when she says, "We never thought you would really love him."
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Right.
It's a weird
I think they
line.
just wanted to
fall in. She's married. She got 2 kids. What do you mean?
Maybe they just wanted her to like have some fun, let loose, get laid.
Yeah, because you see them walking down the street and she notices him and she kind of checks him out, thinks he's cute, and then you see that Diane Weiss like turns around to look at him, like, oh, I guess it's like a spell, like a booty call spell, like let's get them to fuck. Yeah. But then I guess that's what they mean when they say we never thought you'd really fall in love with him. Yeah. But it's still like
it makes
it makes you feel like their relationship is not real.
Right.
And then the way that they get over the curse is so weird. At the end, it's just like, we don't believe in curses. It's like, well, he
that's not how curses work.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, you think he was a real big believer in curses?
And this curse has been around for like hundreds of years.
Well, there's also some hand-wavy dialogue about like, because her spell to make the guy come to her came, it broke the curse. Now we don't have a curse. Let's jump off the roof.
I love that scene at the end. Nicole Kidman makes the best face.
They're so openly witches. The whole town hates them for being witches, and then they're just more openly witches. And they're like, now we're into it. Now we totally
love it.
We love it. By the way, I love that Diane Weiss is like super nice to everybody, and Stockard Channing is a bitch to everybody. That's their thing.
Yeah, Stockard Channing is so. They're both so good.
Oh, the
hat work. So good. The hat work is unparalleled.
Also, she just has this crazy accent.
Yeah, we were saying Stockard Channing is like the last living actress who still has the transatlantic accent.
Yeah.
So, like, oh, come on, Jetty. Like, what? Catherine Hepburn.
I've taken to saying what did I say in the group chat the other day? I was like, you making fun of me, Riz? Like, just talking like Stockard Channing all the time. Peachy Keen, Jelly Bean.
What do you guys think this got on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, 38%.
Anthony?
Very low.
No, like maybe 62. I'm going to be generous. It's because it's beloved by people.
It's definitely one of those movies that has a lower critic score than audience score.
Well, the audience score is 73%.
Okay.
The critic score, and this is primarily made out of contemporary from 1998, is 23%.
Ooh.
Real did not go over well at the time.
But what's so funny is I bet if you read those reviews, they'd be like, oh, this movie is like not anything that anybody's going to remember. And then it's now look at it.
Well, no, it's mostly...
Hocus Pocus was like that.
It's mostly like what remember we saw it in the theater. It came out in August. That's how little they gave a shit about it.
And Hocus Pocus 2...
I'm so sorry. I was on a cruise when this movie came out, and one of the things like on the Practical Magic, and one of the reasons I've seen it so often and it like really caught me was because right when it came out, the cruise ship had this like, it was basically a pay-per-view, but it would be in your room until they like play the same movie over and over again. I remember my mom being like, "You have to come out of the cabin. You cannot keep watching this movie. Like, we're on a cruise."
And you were like, "My life is changing in here."
I'm getting my period for the first time. I always like, I said weird things from this movie too, because like tweens are insufferable. But like something that I always found funny was when she looks at them and she's like, "Blood on the moon."
Yeah. And then
what does that mean?
And then kind of a jump scare when the abusive boyfriend like is in the back of the car. It's like,
yeah.
That all of a sudden that whole like section where they're driving and it's like a hostage movie
super
now.
tense and scary. And then it's like zany again. They're like, "We killed him. Oh no, we gotta bury him in the garden. We killed him again."
Right. Yeah, they bring him back and you think, oh, this is gonna be like a kind of like Pet Sematary situation. And then like
for a minute.
they kill him again.
Yeah.
But then he's like, there's a lot I don't understand.
Then it's silly. Right. I kind of figured like, I've always felt that they never completed the spell.
Yeah.
And that he wasn't totally dead, like from the
but he's
belladonna.
coming back as like...
But then that they actually did kill him, but they also never put the needles through the eyes the
No,
second
they
time they
didn't.
did the spell. So I'm like, I feel like they always half-assed it, and that's why they like messed it up so badly. But you and I were talking, and we were like... There always struck us as something supernatural about him anyway. Like, he seems like a vampire, or he seems like something.
Well, she's like totally...
otherworldly.
It's very like Witches of Eastwick. Like,
Yeah.
he's the devil or something.
Yeah.
So it's like he was already kind of supernatural to begin with. Like, he was a dark
he
spirit.
brands you.
Yeah. And really, it was like he was abusive.
And he murdered somebody. It kind of lets our characters off the hook when the cops like, yeah, he's actually a real deal life murderer. Yeah. You're like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh, okay, you're off the hook. You're fine.
What's this dude's name?
Goran Viznik, I think.
He is...
No, what's the character's name? She says it like 900 times.
Jimmy Angelov. In the book, he's like a redneck type, and he was originally written that way for the movie, but they just loved Goran Viznik so much they rewrote his character.
Right. When he comes out at the end as like a ghost, and it's a Ghostbusters movie, it's like... even though it's like early effects or early CGI, I think it works because it's like he's like in black and white.
Yeah.
It's weird.
His eyes look silver.
It reminded me of the Peter Jackson movie, The Frighteners, in that scene.
Oh,
Do you remember The Frighteners?
That was around the same time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He was the
But
doctor.
but that's another level of supernatural. Like when that happens, it's like what the they're a straight up ghost now.
Yeah.
Ghosts that can affect the physical world. Ghosts that seem to have like bodies because he gets burned.
Yeah.
He's corporeal. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say he was the doctor who like he's like the fake George Clooney. Like when George Clooney left ER, he came in the next season, and you could tell by looking at him, you're like, you're the George Clooney guy.
You're the fucking
You're the
Dollar
second
Tree
season.
George
Yeah,
Clooney.
you're the Bobo George Clooney. He's hot though.
Yeah,
Oh
he's
yeah,
super hot.
he's seductive. Let's put it that way. That's why he's like a
Yeah.
vampire. He's
he's
super.
very- yes.
He's so seductive. Like he's scary from the get go.
Oh yeah. He
Right?
sneaks up behind her and puts a
Yeah.
blindfold on
Right.
her, and that's their meet cute.
Yeah.
Like,
And we were like, what house is she in? Is this a hotel? Is it a house? Where
that
are
was
they?
Phil Spector's house.
yeah, no, it is so weird. It's like I got the feeling that she was like following a band around. Or
Yeah,
something.
she's definitely like she's sowing those wild oats. She is
Yeah.
fucking everyone.
She was getting up to some stuff.
Yeah.
She knew her way around an orgy for sure.
For sure. Yeah, and so this is another thing that's vague to me. Maybe we can explain. So she like was always like drugging him. What does he not
She
sleep?
had to he was so obsessed with her that he wouldn't let her out of his sight, so she would have to drug him so that she could get sleep. Basically the implication is that like he wanted to fuck her 24/7 and wouldn't let her out of his sight.
Weird.
Right, but in fact, it's really he's just like abusive and possessive and
Right.
won't let her go. So she sneaks away by drugging him for days at a time.
And is that character's not in the book at all?
He is in the book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So the murder plot happens in the book.
Yes, but he doesn't come back. They bury him in the backyard, and then there's like a huge growth of lavender
Sure.
that happens as a result.
Okay.
And then that lavender lures in. The smell of lavender is really strong around the house, and then it like lures in another man who becomes like a love interest, who's not a character who's not in the movie at all, who's a love interest for Jillian.
Okay.
And the daughter sees him just like in the movie. She sees him hanging out in the backyard.
So the score of this movie is by Alan Silvestri, who does the Avengers score, Back to the Future. But apparently the original score was much darker, and the studio made them change it. And apparently the original cut was darker. So a lot of these problems we're saying we can't solely lay on the feet of Griffin Dunn. It seems like he made a movie that was a little bit more challenging to people, and the studio was like, "Nah, you got Sandy Bullock in it, lighten it up," and now you have this weird. It's the tone. The tone is all over the fucking place. It doesn't know what it's trying to do. It doesn't know what movie it is. It's a fucking every 2 minutes you're like, well, okay, now we're in a comedy.
Right. Like the Midnight Margarita scene goes into something really dark and twisted, and like the bottle has been left by the ghost of the guy they killed, and it's making them mean and crazy. Like, what?
Yeah.
I do love that scene though, when they're all screaming at each other.
Yes, and then
she goes, "Witch."
Oh yeah.
So good.
And they're like giggling and crazy, but it's like it's bizarre. So like all those weird camera angles are like
self-important shrew.
Slut. And then
since when has being a slut been a crime in this family?
My favorite is their both like, what would you know? You slept with like one guy your whole life,
and he died.
And then they go from being like wasted to completely sober. Like, what is happening in this house?
Yeah. Let's compare Jet and what's the other one?
Francis.
Franny and Jet.
Franny and Jet to the Sabrina's two aunts.
Yeah, it's these pairs of witches. These, I guess it's just because it's like
sisterhood.
Unmarried women, though, right? Like historically, why would we have like pairings of witches? And it's just because like they didn't get married, so now they live together
so
to
they
survive.
No man owns them, so they must.
So they must be witches.
Yeah, they're owned by Satan.
Right.
They're brides of Satan, obviously.
Right. Yeah. It's funny then. So thinking back earlier this month, the Roald Dahl's witches is unique in that it doesn't show a sisterhood. Every witch is kind of their own agent and will fuck each other over.
Yeah,
Whereas,
it's very like franchisees of witches.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about this when I was watching Hocus Pocus 2. You watch too many of these witch movies and you start to think, what is a witch even?
Sure.
Like, are you born a witch? Are you a witch because you do magic? Are you... Like, because sometimes it's like you're the chosen one. Right. Sometimes it's like you become a witch when you're 16.
Right. It's a metaphor for growing up or womanhood. Yeah.
And then if you get into like American Horror Story Coven, it's like witches are like X-Men.
Yeah.
It's like the term itself is very.
Well, so interesting because like
tough.
It like it could mean something very nefarious, something scary, something like satanic panic related. But then what you see in some of these movies we're talking about is it becomes second wave feminism takes the witch mythology and sort of like makes it more a positive thing.
Yeah, they're like lady bosses.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I don't want to tip next week's episode, but something that I liked about Hocus Pocus 2 is it makes the Sandersons seem more sympathetic because you see the dudes around them are all kind of douchebags.
Which a lot of people, I assume the people who are like hate woke quote unquote culture have been like, oh, you can't even have evil villains anymore. They had to make the Sanderson sisters nice.
As if complicating anything just makes it worse. It's like it doesn't. Just it makes you think, and you don't want to use that little peanut brain of yours to think about anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, because one of the themes of Hocus Pocus 2 is like the sisterhood and them being very, very close.
the real reason is if you get these three back, they're going to be in as much of this movie as you can. They're not going to. They're not in the first movie that much, really.
Yeah, true.
The second movie, they are the stars, and you got to be the stars.
Yeah. And they sing two. They have two musical numbers.
Well, yeah.
It's Hocus Pocus 2 musical numbers.
Yeah.
Practical Magic would make a great musical. Continue.
You think so?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, Mystic Pizza is now a musical. Like 10 years after 30 Rock made it a joke musical, so I don't think it's too far off.
So do you think one of Faith Hill's friends was like, I bet you $100 you can't get the word centrifugal into a song?
Wait, I saw a meme. It looked like it was from RuPaul's Drag Race, and it was like young gay kids when they heard this kiss for the first time, and they heard centrifugal in a song, and then the caption was the queen saying, "Oh, bitch, work." She really does work it in there terrifically.
It really
centrifugal motion.
She gets it. She hits it all. She's
I
not hiding
I
it.
always thought it was centrifugal.
Well, centrifuge, right? Like that's how you pronounce the object.
Yeah,
It's
subliminal.
I watched this YouTube channel of this guy who like makes little fun dioramas, but he's Canadian and he always says aluminium, and it strikes me like a fucking jab in the side, like being I'm like, oh, aluminium, which makes more sense. Like aluminum sounds like just you kind of glanced at it and then were like remembered what you think it might be.
It sounds like a word that's like fake Latin.
Yeah.
Yeah, when this kiss comes on, it's really loud.
It's really loud.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was constantly like doing the thing where like I would raise and lower my volume because
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh no, I can't hear the breathy voice of Nicole Kidman. What she's saying.
Here comes Faith Hill
Kiss,
blasting.
kiss.
Sal, he wants me every day.
Oh, I don't know.
She's terrific, and her best performance is the AMC commercial.
Oh, come on. Come on. All right, let's shift a little bit to The Craft from 1996, an earlier movie than the one we just talked about. This is directed by Andrew Fleming, who also directed a bunch of TV and Hamlet 2.
What?
What? Story
I just went, what?
Story and screenplay by Peter Filardi and screenplay by Andrew Fleming.
Both of these movies raised a generation of gays.
Talk more about that.
I don't know what it is about the gays and witches, but we can't get enough.
Well, they're societal outsiders.
Yeah.
Right? They live on the fringes. They're persecuted.
Camp.
Yeah, camp is a
Camp.
big thing, I think.
Yeah.
For sure. And
Fashion forward.
people don't know what they're doing, right? Like people make a lot of assumptions about like what witches are doing, and
Yeah.
I think that has a parallel in like homosexual culture, right? Like in terms of like what are they doing behind those closed doors?
So it's like those women or those girls. What are they
Right.
doing?
And it's also like, and you see this in The Craft, if you're not engaging in like heteronormative activities, like, oh, they're in this movie they're witches, but they might as well be saying they're lesbians. Like, oh, the three weird girls that hang out, they don't date dudes, so like they're witches. It's very like clearly coded as like you're not engaging with us sexually.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like looking back on it now, a lot of the dynamics between the characters in The Craft are queer coded, but interestingly, a lot of the central conflict is over a boy.
Right.
It's over the Skeet Ulrich character.
Right. Yeah, but I found myself watching The Craft again recently. Like,
Whatever happened to Fairuza Balk? That's what you were asking yourself.
So
amazing.
She would be an amazing Joker.
I'll tell you where she was. She was having a cameo in the Craft sequel that came out last year.
She was so good in this movie. I mean, she's fantastic.
She should have been the Joker. God, what brilliant casting that would have been.
She's so good. And as she gets more bananas, she just kills it.
I'm flying at the end.
Oh
It's
my
so
god.
good.
Oh my god. She's fantastic.
But she spends the whole movie upstaged by Robin Tunney's wig.
Oh my god. Can we talk about this wig?
What about when she turns it blonde and it's like a wig on a wig?
I'm like, you
No,
had to draw
yeah.
attention to the hair. She changes
it
her
looks-
hair color multiple times in that scene,
But
and
it's
it looks so bad.
It's like bad CG. It's like kind of green. Like you can tell they just like played
Horrible.
with the color temperature.
yes.
It's
You know
like
why
old
she's-
TVs where you would like turn it to more yellow.
You know why she was bald? Because of Empire
she shaved her
Records.
head for Empire Records. Yeah.
But also, I find her so boring, and like
Yeah, she's not a
the least
charismatic
interesting
lead.
character in the Coven. Like
At the
anyone
end,
else
when
is
she-
the lead.
At the end, when she like starts feeling herself, though, she gets good. I think.
Yeah. I like. Well, it ends with a real showdown. It's a real fucking wizards fight at the end.
Yeah.
So good. It's really good.
It's like the fight in Sword of the Stone between Merlin and the crazy old witch.
Mim. Oh, I love
Yeah.
The scene
Oh, I love her.
with all
Talk
the
about an icon.
bugs I've had.
She goes, I'm a creep. I'm a scary old creep or
Yeah.
something. She says about herself.
Yeah.
I try to send that gift to you at least once a year.
I've had so many nightmares stemming from that scene with all the bugs and the snake.
Oh, and if they
Yes.
did that now, it would be CGI and it would suck. But those are clearly real roaches, and it's
Yeah,
so
it's disgusting.
gross.
It's so good. The 4 leads are good.
Yes,
They're all
they
good.
really are. They really are.
I also really like Fairuza Balk's mom in it.
Yeah, like the trashy mom.
Roosevelt mom is so like next level drunk mom. She's
like the
she-
mom from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, she literally stumbles into the movie. They're like, hey, she's like, mom, like what? Like she's like,
When they
she's
get the
bouncing off the
insurance
walls of her
policy,
trailer.
and they're like screaming like they just won the
Oh my
lottery.
God.
And then she has the apartment. She's like, "Come on, girls! I love all my music that I love."
It's like
She was like the Amy Poehler from
Yeah.
Mean Girls before
Yes.
there was the Amy Poehler from Mean Girls.
Well, there's a lot
And
of
she
Mean
got
Girls in this movie.
A jukebox that only plays. What is it? Loretta Lynn?
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Just to speak.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Oh, my
And
God.
then even like the running joke is that she's trailer trash.
By the way, I love that they inherit like $100,000, and they're like,
Yes.
we're filthy rich.
Yes, and they
Let's
must
get a
have spent
penthouse.
that immediately.
Like I knew the '90s was a different time, but
It's also
even in
very,
the '90s,
like-
that's not a life-changing money.
I feel like that scene, like that scenario in particular, was like very monkey's paw. You know, it's
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
person dies in like a work-related accident, and then they get this like this money, but it's really not much. Like I think in Monkey's Paw, they just wanted enough to like fix the roof or something.
In Monkey's Paw, they want enough to clear the house to pay off the mortgage.
You guys were talking about the Treehouse of Horror episode.
No, we're talking about the short story by who is it? Denzel
Washington.
Denzel Washington. No, yeah. So are you
I've never
familiar?
read it.
Okay, so it's a family with like an adult. It's a mom, dad, and an adult son, and then they get they have like a sergeant major who comes to visit them who has a monkey's paw, and he's like, "Don't ever use it, but here you go."
Sure.
So they make 3. They have 3 wishes. The first wish
thought they have 5.
is to clear the house, which means like to pay off the mortgage.
Okay.
And then the next day, the son goes to work, and they get a telegram the son was killed at work, and the money that the company is paying to compensate for his death is exactly enough to pay off the mortgage.
yeah.
And then the second wish, so the mother becomes extremely depressed. She uses the second wish in the middle of the night to wish him back.
Yeah.
And then there's like a pounding on the door, and then right as she goes to open it, the father wishes him away again, and that's the third wish.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of like be careful what you wish for. It's kind of like the it comes back ×3 thing.
Yeah.
She wants to put a little spell on Skeet Ulrich, but he becomes like he tries to rape her. He becomes so obsessed with her. Christine Taylor.
Oh my God, the hair.
Her hair, like it goes too
Another
far.
wig. Yeah.
By the way, you see, this is
The
something
racism.
you would never see that in a movie now.
Yeah.
Like just a villain that's like, I am a card carrying racist.
Yeah, I mean it's she doesn't use
She-
the N word, but she basically does.
She riffs on the N word. She's like, it's
This is
N word.
PG-13.
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like it never goes all the way with a lot of its stuff, like with its scares, with its language. I don't
I
know.
wouldn't be surprised if it was like originally intended to be R, and then they scaled it down to PG-13.
Yeah, because teen movies were like really big at the time.
Sure.
You figure it was all those like, what was it, Kevin Williamson days where like everyone from like Dawson's Creek was then in a horror movie, and all those like WB folk.
And a lot of those movies were like Can't Hardly Wait was supposed to be R, and then it was like very badly edited to be PG-13.
okay.
There was a few examples of that.
You guys think it's PG-13?
It feels like a PG-13 to me.
I think it might be a
I think
PG-13 joint.
Well, whatever it is, today it would have a much harsher rating just because of its language. She's Marsha from the Brady Bunch movies.
Yeah, I mean she plays a
Fantastic.
good villain.
She's Oh, it is rated R.
Yeah.
Okay.
She looks like the main characters from Sweet Valley High. And
Oh,
so-
the twins?
Yeah. She looks like she's supposed to be modeled on them.
Well, she's
I love that they go to a Catholic school.
Yeah.
They do so much with that.
They never let you do that to your uniforms. I wish they did.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's like early Destiny's Child days when they all had like a riff on the same outfit. I love that.
That is fun. Yeah, well, we could talk a little bit about the texture of the craft. I mean, this is the movie that launched 1,000, like fucking manic panic.
Goth girls.
Yeah, like 1,000 trips to Hot Topic.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a huge cultural effect. I remember being in high school at the time, and like, you know, it gave, nerdy or alienated young women something to like latch onto, which is cool.
I would even push back against that. I feel like people who were really social also really enjoyed witches because they would just do it with their friends. Like,
right? Who hasn't done
light as a feather, stiff as a board
Exactly.
at every sleepover? And guess what? It works.
I'm here to tell you it works.
And I changed my hair color too.
there was a place, I think it's still like a head shop. It's called like Mystical Wonders now, I think, on Jewett. And go visit it if you can, please, folks. But at the time, it was called like Wizard's Wonderland, and they sold spellcasting stuff. And you better believe my mom drove me there so I could check it out. And I got the book Teen Witch, not the movie Teen Witch.
Top that.
Didn't you also get that book like about like your familiars and stuff?
I got like astrology stuff. I got like you
had crystals? You have crystals?
Oh, no crystals, because you know what? Crystals weren't as big back in the day. It was more candles, and it was all like different colored candles. You need like this. I mean, it was a racket, right? Like the candle people were really the people pushing the witchcraft movies, because I had to buy at least a dozen candles, different colors, to cast these spells.
Yeah, of course.
And
You need to charge
once or twice a week.
It's like Scientology. It's a real.
your crystals. You need to charge them under the moon. People forget that. I tell my students every day.
Full moon tonight.
It is,
Guys,
I always tell my students, charge your Chromebooks and charge your crystals before class tomorrow.
Nancy has a noose in her locker. You would get, if they found that in a kid's locker today, school would be canceled. We'd have big sit downs. It would be a thing. She just, like a joke, has a noose in her locker.
Oh, you know what? Hanging rope plays I mean, it's a totally different context, but like hanging rope is also, it's always like a witch thing.
Yeah,
but there's
sure.
also like obviously other elements at play in the craft. Like,
Sure.
Yikes. That's interesting. I know they actually features in both movies because they make a protective necklace out of the hanging rope for the other witch.
Yeah. And in Hocus Pocus, they're hanging them in the beginning.
Right.
Well, because the Salem witches were hanged,
Yeah.
not burned, as many people mistakenly believe.
I recently read The Crucible, and I feel like this is a great time to talk about it. I've never read it before. I read it, and then I watched
the 90s one?
the 90s
so
one.
So good.
Love it.
Winona Ryder's best performance.
Fucking Daniel Day-Lewis made his own house. The little cottage he has, he made it because he's that fucking insane as an
nuts.
actor.
He
He
has, like,
smelled so
several-
bad on
Oh,
set
I'm
because
sure
he would
he
not
did.
shower.
It is my name.
And again, when he did Gangs of New York, he also stunk.
Yeah.
He's gross.
I have a way. I know I just read it, so I shouldn't be editing it, but I had an idea of how you can make a more modern version of The Crucible, and now's as good a time as any to talk about it. I think what I would do is I would leave the text the same, but I would add earlier scenes where you see Proctor being gentle and kind and a little bit seductive towards Abigail. So you could see him sort of making that quote unquote promise that she later says he made to her. Because as it exists now, it's super sexist. And I know like that wasn't what they were thinking about. They were thinking about communism and stuff like that. But it's like, this bitch came into my house, was hot, so I had to fuck her, ruined my marriage.
My wife was frigid. What did you expect me to do?
I'm not going to fuck a teenage girl in my house?
She had just lost a child.
Right. Like, Proctor is like fucking the great guy, and like it's...
I will not have this woman sully my reputation
Right.
and ruin my good name and drag it through the mud.
I think if you added a little bit of that in the beginning, it would give more sympathy to Abigail.
When you said a modern take, I was like, it's the same thing except it's on Instagram. That movie's being written right now.
There was a production a couple years ago with
I saw it with Saoirse.
Yeah. Where it was like a school, right? It was
It was horrible. It was really bad.
Cool.
It was a really bad, weird
so?
adaptation because they took a lot of liberties with. It was like very style over substance, so it was the same text, but it was they wore like mid-century, like 20th century clothing. So like they weren't dressed like Puritans. They were like spent a lot of their time either sitting in a schoolroom or like a diner. Like as their community meeting places rather than like the church. So I think that was like an attempt to like modernize it, but like modernize it to the mid 20th century.
What are the consequences?
I don't know.
Like, he's still gonna be like hanged and burned.
Yes,
So
it was
they
the
didn't
same.
fuck with the
They didn't mess
text.
with the text. It was almost like that new West Side Story. They didn't change the text, but they gave you a lot of visual clues. Like in the new West Side, not the new West Side Story movie, but the new production of West Side Story on Broadway, where they modernized it. Like there was a lot of imagery, like basically to suggest that they were actually talking about like Mexican migrants, even though the text said Puerto Rican.
Okay,
but anyway, there was a lot of like weird scenes of like. The scene would end and then like a window would blow open and like locusts would fly in.
I thought you liked that.
I didn't. I was like, I walked out of there saying like anybody who's not familiar with the Crucible would think that they really were witches from seeing this.
Right. I mean, I on paper that's an interesting choice to try to do that, but it also doesn't mean anything to do that.
Coincidentally, I think it was actually the same person who did the new West Side Story. I think like that's what they do. It's just like whoever they are, like update classics.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Saoirse was good. She played Abigail.
Yeah.
Oh, that just reminds me. Bill said a sequel he would actually love to see is is for The Vitch.
Yeah.
Because he wants to, like, he's like, what's that coven all about? Like, who are they? Like, what's her life now that she's part of this?
Right. It ends with her dancing naked in the woods, like Crucible begins.
Naked in the moonlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in Practical Magic.
Yes.
Yeah,
the rumors.
It's optional, as you well know.
And then when they come home, the little girl's like, "We dance naked in the moonlight."
So
I like that they go to like witches conference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it's
they're
once
like,
a
we're
year.
on the board.
You know, it's in Fort Lauderdale. We have to go. We're on the board. Yeah, I do. So you mentioned it before. I do like the line. There's a little bit of witch in all of us. They say that to character actor Margot Martindale.
Oh, Margot.
It's the best. Well, because it's like that thing of like women having like a mother's intuition is like tied to witchcraft.
Yeah.
And like the sisterhood of women, I guess, because like there's this idea that like women have a bond because they're all oppressed. So that's like a witch's connection.
So I mean, also just like physically, there's weird things that happen among women. Like if you spend a lot of time with the same women, your period cycles
Track bears.
So yes, you all start to get your period around the same time.
Is
so
that
it's
true?
like, yeah, no, it's true. I went to an all-girls school. It was nuts. But yeah, no, you really do start to cycle along with people, and it's just this weird thing. You kind of fall in step with the women you spend the most time with. So there is something like sort of witchy about that.
Well, also because men, as much as they objectify the female form, like they love boobs and vaginas, but they don't like breastfeeding. They don't like periods. Like it's only as far as it interests them, and then everything else is like, ooh, gross. I don't want to know about it.
Well, I know that like men obviously practice Wicca, but like even in like the practice of Wicca, like it's a lot about like cycles and like the moon cycle, the maiden, mother, and crone cycle, and like the idea that like women are like tied, like the mother nature thing, like women are tied to the earth, they're tied to the cycle of life.
I was a junior high Wiccan, so I went through that phase early in life, and I do still love it.
I
but
mean, it's
not the worst
amazing that-
religion to
Well,
honestly, it's not the worst religion to practice.
It's like socialism, where it's something if you said it before or were accused of it before, we will kill you. And now you could just like say it in a bar.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a socialist. No big
And
deal.
people are like, "Oh, you're still doing that?
Yeah.
Like you didn't grow out of that?
You're still, yeah.
You must have a wild candle budget."
Your candle. Oh my God, the candle budget. So what do you think about this? What's his name again?
Manon.
Manon.
That is some French god thing, but it's not. They
It's
really
not
just
real.
made it up, right?
Yeah, it's made up.
Why do you think they did that?
I don't know, and that's something that like I know people who do practice Wicca like don't like about the craft.
Right, it's just a weird thing to just create.
Like witches and people who practice Wicca, whatever they call themselves, like a lot of them like love the witch stuff, like they love witch iconography.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard and read, like they don't like that the craft invented Menon because a lot of Wicca is centered around like Mother Earth and like the goddess.
Right, it's a guy.
And it's making it's almost like Judeo-Christian, like putting a male figure in the center of it again.
Or like the devil, like the connection between witches and the devil.
Yeah, because in the craft, it's like they call on Manon to give them power.
I don't mean to gossip, but I saw a Goody Proctor talking to the devil.
I love that. I love that.
That's my favorite TikTok of all time. I don't want to gossip, but I saw Goody Proctor with the devil.
It's like, girl, you know me. I don't.
Don't love the drama.
You know what I'm thinking now? Like, as you guys are saying this, I'm like, Do you think the studio was like a little squeamish about having a movie be so devil centric and then selling that to like the broader like U.S. market, and so they just had this like stand-in for the devil?
Well, the Devil's Advocate. What year was that? That was the late.
That was
90s.
around there, yeah.
And that's fucking. You've got fucking. But Al Pacino as the devil, insane in that movie.
Yes, and it's great. But I think you could at least market that as like a legal drama.
The Devil's Advocate is 1997, so in between the two movies we're talking about.
I actually love that movie.
It is interesting because it feels like you could pull from so much. Why just make up something? Although the name does come from something. It's a French like myth or some bullshit, but it's not at all what they're talking about.
Okay.
It's just odd. I feel like if they did the film now, they wouldn't do that. Well, you bring up something that I find interesting culturally, which is this movie in some ways birthed a lot of witches, right? But it also, 3 of the 4 witches are bad guys and kind of lose their mind and become powerful and evil. So it's like it doesn't necessarily paint witches in a good light.
No, it's not. It's not very. It doesn't paint them in as good of a light as practical magic does. Yeah, and then I guess they kind of get around that by saying like they practice dark magic, whereas like Robin Tunney practices white magic, and Robin Tunney's mother was a witch.
Yes.
Right. They don't get into that.
How did her mother die? Or
during childbirth?
Oh.
Every witch has a dead mother too. Like Sabrina.
Right, Sabrina.
Even Practical Magic.
Practical Magic, they have a dead mother. Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. Why do you think?
Women,
and it's always like the mother was a witch.
Woman has to suffer or something like that.
Well, it's like the thing of like, why do Disney princesses always have dead mothers too?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of a built-in like backstory. Like you just come with drama, I guess.
Well, also then there's no one to lead you through the world, right?
Yeah.
So like you're on your own. You have to figure it out, and
Yeah.
so that's when like all these misadventures happen to you because you have no one looking out for you.
I loved the first season of the new Sabrina.
Yeah.
And then
it went off the rails.
Yeah,
I
like-
still watched it right to the end.
did you really? Because
I did.
I
It
got
was
halfway through
weird.
season 2 and was like, what is happening?
It's weird and bad. It gets worse with. I liked season 2, and then I was like, oh, okay, no, this is crazy. This is just getting crazier and crazier.
And you know she's still playing it. She's now on Riverdale as Sabrina.
On? Like she's
Yeah.
on, but she died at the end of the series.
I don't. She's back.
All right. Well, good.
Never have I ever when the cousin Kamala is watching Riverdale and she's like, "This is a murder show now. What am I watching?"
Yeah, Riverdale.
These hot teenagers.
It's the weirdest IP thing they've ever done. It's weirder than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Did you ever read that, like from way back in the day, like that theory that Dawson's Creek was Archie comics?
That makes sense.
Like
because you've got
every
the two...
character has a Archie comic counterpart.
Oh yeah, Pacey's definitely Jughead, right?
Yeah, and then there's Betty Veronica, and then Dawson's Archie.
For sure.
I never heard that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
This was the first time in this movie is the first time I heard the term 5-finger discount.
Oh, okay.
And this movie makes stealing seem like a lot of fun.
If that's your one takeaway from
But
this
like
movie,
big
kid.
things, like Nev Campbell's like, put this whole fucking book in your bag.
Oh yeah, they steal from the shopkeeper.
They're one friend in the world.
I know. You know, I you see a lot of like queer parallels, and then one of the ways is like in a lot of these stories, there's like an older figure who introduces them into the world.
Yeah.
And like maybe you know it's not the figure they're with the whole time, but like that this is the person who gives them a taste. Of, like, okay, this is what this life is like.
Yeah.
I see that a lot with that shopkeeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seems very much alone in the world.
Fairuza Balk owned a witchy store like that.
Yes,
for like
I did know that.
A couple of years.
Yeah. Oh God, I love her.
You do love her. She's second best Dorothy of the two.
No, Zoe Deschanel was also Dorothy, and she was very bad.
You're the only one who saw that.
No, we both saw it.
I T-voed it. I'm talking about the early 2000s.
That's right. It was on my DVR.
I recorded it on VHS. Tin Man. What a movie.
Was it a movie?
Oh, so the classic line in this movie is "We are the weirdos, Mister."
Is that a nod to like something else, like Lost Boys or
I don't
something?
know, but I
Isn't
noticed
there like a very similar line in Lost Boys?
Oh, so there is a similar line in Lost Boys. I forget what it is though. But I noticed when I watched it that before the old man says that, he checks them out. He like looks them up and down and then says it.
Well, because they're teenage girls in Catholic school uniforms.
So you must objectify
That's such
them.
a thing. I mean, you went to Catholic school. Yeah. I mean, I taught in Catholic school, and But the more unsexy you try to make it, the more, like, you know, it becomes like the fetish object in Freudian terms. Over the years that I taught,
we looked like postal workers. We looked very crazy. Like there was no plaid to be seen. There were no pleats. It was just like,
were there buckles on your
business shoes and business. We just always joked because we looked so terrible. And you figure, like, at that point in your life, you're like usually discovering your sexuality, and like you want to be desirable, but you're also like finally aware that there is always danger around you if you're a woman.
Yeah.
And so there's like you walk this fine line, but at the same time we would look enviously at other Catholic school uniforms and be like, they can make theirs look hot and ours, oh shit, they just look terrible.
Yeah.
Someone at a bus stop once asked my friend, "Ma'am, what time does the flight leave?" It was pretty great.
Hilarious.
But we were all like, yeah, no, we know it's ugly. It's bad.
Yeah, I taught in Catholic high school for years, and they had the traditional, like, the plaid skirts and whatever, and I had so many students tell me that they got catcalled 10 times as much when they were in their school uniforms than when they were in regular clothes, which is just speaks to such a creepy fetish of men.
But like, it's like Freud wrote about, or what like Foucault talks about with the implantation of perversion. Like, if you say this is to be not sexual, that becomes the most sexual thing.
Yeah.
I blame Britney Spears.
Oh.
Who wasn't wearing a plaid skirt.
That's so wild to me. When you brought that, I was like, I can
Shazam
see
effect.
the skirt in my head. No.
Oh, you called this shit Shazam effect?
Yes, in honor of
respect of
Kazam.
Yeah.
That makes sense to respect Mandela. But yeah, Britney Spears is not wearing a plaid skirt in that video.
She's wearing a uniform though, right? She's wearing a
but it's
suit.
like a gray sweater, white shirt, black skirt. Yeah. Black
really?
skirt.
There's no pink in there?
No, she's got pink on her hair. Like she's got the puffs on her hair.
Let's shift a little bit and talk about witches in pop culture outside of these two films.
All right. So what else was going on at the time? Charmed was on.
Well, you and me already had this conversation when we talked about witches, but like, what are some of the other witches that you like, that you think about, that you think are important witches?
At this point in my life, it was very much like Sabrina was like candy sugar witches, which I loved, and it was light and it was fun. And Charmed was like Practical Magic was right in between for me because tonally it was both. Yeah. And then Charmed was darker, but also like totally Charmed was weird too because they would have these like moments of danger, but it was never as clever as Buffy, so it would just shift really hard into being lighthearted.
Well, Willow is a witch.
Willow is a witch.
She was a good witch too.
That's right.
But she was also she was bad at some point. Mm-hmm. She like
because she was doing like witch drugs.
Yeah, they were like you're using magic too much.
Yeah.
And then at the end she becomes like in the last episode she becomes like she Gandalf
super
and becomes
powerful.
like the white witch.
They had to give her something to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting arc from her just normal friend to she becomes a witch.
Yeah.
Throughout the show.
Well, she's a witch, and it's a gateway to lesbianism for her.
Yes, it is a gateway to lesbianism.
It is in life. It's a gateway to lesbianism.
Women are just so powerful.
Right, because what's her face? Not Anya. What's her name? You know, her girlfriend.
Yeah, her
Tara.
Girlfriend.
Tara's a witch as well.
R.I.P.
That's how they. Oh yeah. And they first discover each other's witchiness in my favorite episode of Buffy, Hush. Was it Hush?
Oh, is it? I don't remember that being.
Yes,
part
because
of Hush.
the men are trying to get in, like the gentlemen.
Sure.
And they are hiding and like trying to keep the door closed, and then they like link hands and they like fly a vending machine across the room and they close the door with their
okay,
magic.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? And you see this big in the craft. Like, even if you have powers together, your powers will be strengthened.
Yeah. You just need a coven.
You need a coven. You need that sisterhood. You need other people.
Well, this is not from the 90s, but I feel like
it doesn't have to be from the 90s.
We have to talk about Bewitched.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Another Nicole Kidman joint eventually.
Right.
But there's even the Bewitched statue in Salem now.
And they're watching Bewitched in the craft.
Is Bewitched set in Salem? No.
No, a lot of Salem residents don't like that statue.
Okay.
For that reason.
right?
Yes, it is not a Salem thing.
Okay.
But Bewitched is a great show.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have the sisterhood element, but it's like she's a lonely witch.
Do you think Stockard Channing is doing Endora?
Oh my God, I want to see that movie.
I do kind of feel like she's giving a little bit of Endora.
In the Bewitched movie, was it Shirley MacLaine who did Endora?
Yes.
God, what great casting.
She was great
But
in.
she's also a witch.
Yeah, that movie's weird.
So
I didn't see the movie.
Let's just talk about the movie.
I didn't see the movie.
Real quick. Nicole Kidman.
Do you want to watch it real quick?
Let's just do it. Nicole Kidman also playing a witch, but she is really a witch, and she's never acted a day in her life.
Because she's making they're making a Bewitched movie, right?
Yes, they're like rebooting Bewitched with Will Ferrell as the lead.
This was a movie directed by what's her name too? Nora Ephron.
Efron. Steve Carell as cousin, what's his face?
Arthur?
Cousin
Uncle Arthur?
Uncle Arthur was so good. He was great.
I mean, he's no Paul Lynde.
Well, who is? Who
Certified
among us?
Bachelor Paul Lynde.
Oh, well. Who would always make jokes about his sexuality, but like could never say it out.
He was like out but not out.
You guys know I'm gay, right?
Like every answer on the fucking Hollywood Squares would be about him being gay.
Yeah. Remember they would like make fun of that on SNL
Yeah.
when they did like the Hollywood Squares bit?
Yeah. What a weird time.
Man. But yeah, so then she's actually a witch, and then Shirley MacLaine plays a veteran actress who is playing Endora in this reboot, but she's also really a witch.
It's like an onion. There are so many layers.
Actually really enjoy. I'm aware that it's terrible, but
I just Googled witches in pop culture, and I'm just gonna throw some people at you and like get your Ursula.
Love her.
Now,
today in particular.
I just did a lesson on her today.
Yeah, and she's very queer coded, right?
Oh, for sure. She's divine.
Based on Divine.
Yeah.
And
And it's interesting because, well, we don't know the backstory because it's not there in the current version of the film, but people read her as the sister.
in the original screenplay, she was Triton's sister. So she was her aunt.
But it's interesting because that means they would both have the same power, but he gets to be a buff, cool dude.
Right.
And she gets to be an octopus
Why isn't
lady.
he also a witch, right? Like if they have the same source of their power, at least.
He's kind of like a wizard.
He does look like a wizard. Yeah. I mean, he also looks like a Poseidon character, but like that also looks like a wizard, like a big white beard. Yeah. And he has like a staff, but it's a trident. Of course, it's all based on Greek mythology, but they have a lot of parallels to like wizard imagery. Yeah.
My all-time favorite witches is Professor McGonagall.
Aww.
Her. You know, it's funny. Yeah, I was just gonna bring up Hermione. You don't think when you think about the wizarding world, you don't think you know that they use the term witch, but you don't think of them as witches, even though they have brooms.
Yeah.
But McGonagall has the iconography of witch. She turns into a cat. She has a pointy hat. She's an old witch.
I never think of Harry Potter as part of the witch canon, like part of the witch lore.
But the brooms.
The Wicked Queen in Snow White is a witch.
Yes.
Bill was saying the other day, because Henry loves witches. He loves villains. He loves I know. Don't I know it? And we have, our friend had a bunch of Disney figures that were on sale at the garage sale. And she was like, he can pick anyone he wants. And he picked Ursula and
of course he did.
the Wicked Queen in her hag form. And they sit on his dresser and he stares at them at night before he goes to sleep. So Bill was saying, he's like, for a woman who went through all this trouble to look because she was jealous of someone being more beautiful than her, she really went all the way the other way to look horrible and crazy. Right. And Bill was like, does she look like that all the time?
Interesting. Like, is that who she really is?
Is that who she is? And then she it's a hag potion, but really, like, maybe she's doing all this magic to keep her beautiful.
I taught a film theory course where I showed Snow White and then Frozen and talked about the story of the Snow Queen and talked about how in contemporary films we're going in a more progressive way, and look how they changed Frozen to be.
They call her a witch at one point in
right,
Frozen.
but it's not the story of the Snow Queen. It's not. She's not an evil. But again, it's about like beauty and like she fucking hates Snow White because Snow White is prettier than her one day.
Yeah.
The mirror's like, you're not the prettiest today, and she's like, well, I'm gonna fucking murder this bitch and eat her heart.
Again, it's about women and aging, and like this person was a child, but now they're coming into their womanhood, and now they're more beautiful than you, and you're an older woman, so now you're becoming a crone, and then she physically becomes a crone in the story.
Right.
Wait, can I just say I don't remember what year it was or what movie we were seeing, but I remember we went to the movies together and we were watching the trailer to Snow White and the Huntsman, and you just like shouted out, "In what world is Kristen Stewart more beautiful than Charlize Theron?"
I stand by that.
It's astute. In what world? Flawed. The whole thing was flawed from the get-go.
What about Alphaba? And I don't mean in The Wizard of Oz. I mean in Wicked.
Yeah, I love her and Glinda in Wicked. That movie's. I feel like
you already don't like the movie.
I already don't like the movie. I feel like it's going to be bad. Although I love the casting.
Oh yeah,
Cynthia Erivo, and I feel like actually Ariana Grande is inspired for Glinda. But I just feel like that. I don't know. That just strikes me as one of those musicals that isn't going to be good as a film.
Oh, yeah. Maleficent. She's a great witch because she like turns into things and puts spells on things.
I would categorize her as sorceress.
Yeah, I don't know if she...
Good delineation.
And I don't know what that is, but it's kind of like pornography. Like, you know it when you see it. She's a sorceress, and the Wicked Queen is a witch.
Does a witch have to be old and unattractive?
You know what? I'm actually... Okay, what makes Ursula and the Wicked Queen witches, and why I don't think of Maleficent as a witch, is Maleficent casts a spell, right?
Yeah.
She casts spells, she does that. But... she doesn't make any potions, and both of those other witches have like cauldrons. They have potions. They're like there's alchemy there, and that's always like women's work and like witches' work, right? Because they're like women are in the kitchen and they're cooking, and it's like a sort of there's so many parallels between like making recipes,
domestic
potions, and domesticity, and like Maleficent strikes me as a sorceress. Like she has a staff, kind of like a wizard.
I could challenge that. I have a challenge for that.
Okay.
So going by your definition, Rita Repulsa is a witch because she makes the putties out of like magic. She makes things.
She's got a sorceress's staff.
I would think of Rita Repulsa as Rita Repulsa?
Yeah.
Repulsa?
Repulsa.
I would think of her as a
Please,
witch.
sir. Yeah.
She's witchy.
She's definitely a witch.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it straddles. I guess it's just.
I like the idea of the potions.
That's an interesting thing. Well, in Practical Magic, they have their own greenhouse. Yeah. There's a real connection to the earth and plant life and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then in Hocus Pocus, they make the potions, and in like, I mean, the Macbeth. I was just gonna say the Macbeth with the three weird sisters and the cauldron. And
you know
and I love that the line where it's like, if you're women, why are you bearded? Because it's like, if you really like, yeah, exactly, which is like so funny.
They're like, we're ugly.
We get it, we're ugly.
I don't know this one, but Janine, you could handle this. Melisandre in Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, sure.
She a witch?
I guess.
Don't you dare sleep on the witches of Gangor.
I guess she's known as like the Red Woman. She's a priestess. Like she's called a priestess, but people like disparagingly will say like witch to her.
Okay.
Yeah. And so but to me she doesn't. She's not given witch. She's really giving like more priestess of a really specific religion. Like she's always talking about like, oh, the Lord of Light, the Lord will do this and the Lord will do that. And she's like very I mean, she definitely has magic for sure.
Yeah.
And then spoiler alert. At the end, like it's revealed that she is in fact actually an old woman, like a very old woman. Like she's a super crone.
I remember
like,
memes about that.
Her magic has been, it's like me.
Yeah.
Me after like taking off my makeup for the day. It's like this horrible crone. But like her magic has been keeping her looking like young and beautiful. And then once she serves her purpose, she's a weird figure. Like she is a villain at first, you think, but then she really helps them out in the end. She's complicated.
Some witches that I like that they've not appeared in any movies yet, but there were witches in Star Wars. The Night Sisters is a coven of witches. They live on Dathomir, which is where Darth Maul comes from.
And they have like funky faces like him?
They have horns like him. That's a tattoo.
Oh.
The warriors tattoo themselves, but they have horns, I believe, like him, or they might not, but they live on Dathomir. They're the ones who bring him back to life when he's like half a fucking person.
How did he get back there?
I forget. He's like in a garbage chute. I don't know. Something happened.
It shot him right out to the planet.
You think they wouldn't fit in Star Wars, but they do, and they're non-Sith.
Do they utilize the Force to do magic?
But they do spells and stuff.
Oh, but then aren't Jedi witches then?
Well, I don't know. No.
Okay.
No, yeah, Jedis are more like monkey sort of mystics, right? Like wise men.
They're wizardy.
They're wizardy. Yeah.
Well, they call Obi-Wan a wizard. It's like that
crazy
old wizard.
That wizard's just a crazy old man.
The wizard's just a crazy. Okay, I like that.
I always wondered if the actor screwed that line up and they left it in. Wouldn't it make more sense to say that old man's just a crazy old wizard?
Yeah, that wizard's just a crazy old man. I like it though. Yeah,
I like that.
Works.
Yeah, in the UK, wizard is like cool. Like, that's wizard.
Can I say something? I just recently I just recently took a trip to Salem, and I went to like every witch museum there. And there's a lot of conflicting info about why witches have like the characteristics associated with them.
Right, because it's coming from a million different places.
Yeah,
and
it's one of those things where it's a million traditions, and there's like, well, it's actually this or it's actually that. So I was gonna say like the witch, obviously the Wicked Witch of the West is like the most iconic witch.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And then I went to 2 different museums that are like were 2 feet away from each other, where one of them said the only reason why the witch's skin was green was because they wanted to show off the Technicolor in The Wizard of Oz. Mm-hmm. And then another one said witches were farmer women, and they had grass stains on, and they were like healers, and they had grass stains on their hands, and they worked in the sun, which is why they got the reputation of being like old and haggard and green.
Let me tell you something as a former docent at a historical place. After you give your spiel 100 times without purposefully doing it, you take little nuggets and you expand them to a point where you're like, am I saying bullshit? That does happen.
I was also just going to say, at the time, weren't literally everyone's hands grass stained?
Right.
Yeah, because then
there's something about class to it.
Yeah, yes. That's it. They were like women who had to work, and many of them had been widowed, so they were like living alone, and they were like apothecaries. They would sell like potions, I guess. And then, like other...
money, it was often an economic tactic to get what she had. Like if she had land that you wanted, like, and she was alone in the world, you could just accuse her of being a witch.
Right. Yeah.
And like 50-50, nothing bad was going to happen to you. Like she might get away and it's fine, and the people in the town are like, not every time that someone cried witch it was like a disaster for the woman, but like you got a good shot that you might get that land.
The Crucible is not history.
Right.
And a lot of it was like, I don't really fucking believe in witches, but I'm going to call this woman a witch and I'm going to fucking steal her shit. Right. Like,
well, yeah. And then another thing that, like you said before, like there's so much of witchcraft is tied up in domesticity, and so like that's why that's why they have brooms, and cauldrons. But then there was in one of the museums in Salem, they said like it was an old tradition that you would jump on your broom, and if you jumped up high, that's how high your crops would grow. So they would see the women doing that, and they would say that they flew on brooms.
Huh.
I feel like it's just like a mishmash of misinformation and disinformation.
Right. Well,
it just also seems like the least imaginative thing ever. It's like, what does a woman have? A broom. All she uses that to fly.
It's interesting with stuff like this, because a couple years ago I read this pretty good, well-researched book about the history of Halloween and like every little iconography of Halloween. And it's like jack-o'-lanterns. Like, here's where the word comes from. Here's 5 different myths that people say this is where it comes from. Okay. And the same thing comes from Halloween. Like, you ask people, like, what is it? People will definitively tell you, like, oh, it's the solstice. Or no, it comes from druids. Or, like, a lot of these things, especially if they become culturally relevant, they become like 9 things at once. Like, you can't really say the history of witches. Because also, like, there's also, like, the voodoo type witch that goes further back than the European white witch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a really good point.
So it's very hard to like really pin down like where all this stuff comes from. I mean, you could maybe boil it down to people hate women.
Right? I think that's really what it is.
Patriarchal societies hate women.
But what's interesting about that though is then, like in Salem and during Salem, by the way, was not the only. Those not the only witch trials. Even the most and most
killed there.
Most people were killed in Europe during those witch trials, but that was men too.
Yeah.
Right.
So that like the term witch, I think had a different associate. It was just a different thing.
Okay, what do they talk about the iconography of the costume? Because it always strikes me as like a pilgrim costume.
So, the witch costume,
like the witch's hat and the cape and like the black. It just strikes me as like puritanical.
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that.
It strikes me as having come from like just even the point, just being like, oh, it's an exaggerated pilgrim outfit or Puritan outfit.
I have no idea. What about Witch Hazel from Looney Tunes?
Oh, I love Witch Hazel.
I like the
she's
Disney
also
one
called
better.
Hazel? Because the one in Trick or Treat is called Hazel. Because I just watched it right before we came
So where does
here.
Hazel come from?
Witch Hazel? I mean, like it's a
Oh, that's
a
the
plant.
stupidest thing I've ever asked.
It's a
Yeah.
although I guess
Why is it
they
called Witch
named
Hazel?
the plant because people would use it medicinally and like they'll be like, oh, that's something witches use. I don't know. I mean, I assume because like you can use witch hazel like things distilled in. If you like distill the herb, right, that becomes the tincture that you put on wounds or like to heal, like as a salve. So I'm sure it's been used for years, and they just call it like witch hazel because like witchy women would take it and use it to heal you. I
Witchy
guess.
women. It is interesting, like with something like the Crucible, where like the definition there is you hang out with the devil, like you and the devil are like tight.
You put his name in his your name in his black
which happens
book.
in Sabrina too, right?
Yes,
you have to sign your name.
Otherwise, you're not a witch. But she could use witchcraft until.
That's such. I mean, I was just watched the scene today, but in Little Mermaid, like Ariel has to sign her name.
Yeah. What is that? I mean,
like making a contract or a compact with the devil is like such a trope in literature.
But I'm thinking like there's like a Lacanian reading you could have of like when you write your name, you perform. You become the language.
That's like the thing of the Crucible. The thing at the end. It's
right.
It's my name. Nobody could take my name from me.
He won't write it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's like and they do this in Sabrina. It's like your dark baptism, right? Because your baptism, you get your Christian name, and so like you give your Christian name away to the devil once you become a witch.
So something I was thinking about this week, and we're getting along in the tooth here. In a few weeks, you and I are going to be talking about Ghostbusters from 2016. But, you know, these things come together in my mind as I meditate on them. Besides misogyny, is there something in us that feels like women can't be Ghostbusters because they are witches? Like men have to be Ghostbusters because it's the man who has to rid the world of evil, but a woman with powers like that is bad? Is there anything here at all?
The women probably made the ghosts appear in the first place.
They're conjuresses. I don't know, it's an interesting theory that I feel like I need to think about.
I just think it's like
on it.
We don't like women in civil service.
I get okay. No, I get that.
No,
I get
really?
that.
I mean, the Ghostbusters are dressed like sanitation workers.
Yes.
Like sanitation workers, they
Cleaning
fire
up the
hoses
streets.
like
Right.
they're firefighters. They live in a
Right.
firehouse. Like it's
The
a
original
very
ones.
civil service.
Yeah, you're right. The original Ghostbusters drive around in a ambulance. You're right.
yeah.
They're in a hearse in the newer one.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. It just obviously the obvious answer is people are fucking sexist. But I found myself thinking like comparing the idea of male Ghostbusters to female Ghostbusters, and there's this feeling like what Diane Way says to Margot Martindale, like women are closer to magic. Like women are
There's a little
step
witch
closer.
in every woman.
Right. You know, maybe on some deep. I'm just pulling out of my ass now, but maybe on some deep lizard brain level, men are like, female Ghostbusters.
Don't let a witch near that ghost.
I do not trust that.
It's gonna show up and it's Halloween, everybody.
Janine, you're a mother.
I was gonna say, Janine, you're a witch.
You're a witch.
You're.
Do you can speak to this? Do you believe that there's like mother's intuition, right?
Yes. Most of the time, you know, a lot of the time it happens with, and like we'll say it to each other, right? So like we have a group chat. I'm involved in multiple group chats with you, but the moms have a group chat, and a lot of the time it'll be like, did you trust what the doctor said about this thing that happened? And this actually just happened recently. A friend of ours walked out of a surgeon's office. Her son was having a problem, and she felt like he gave her the brush off, and her son's temperature was rising, and she's like, this is not right. He told her it was something unrelated, and she's like, no, it's not. I know it's this. And she took him right to the pediatrician, and then when the pediatrician took a look at it, she was like, he goes, take him to the ER. Like, this is something wrong. So it's like, you have to go with your gut. And part of it's like, you know your kid better than anyone else. And like, you know, doctors went to medical school for many years. Like, you can't diagnose things necessarily, but you just often you're told like, no, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing, but when it comes to your mom, like you're just the mom. Like who the hell are you? But it's like I'm with this kid 24/7. So it's like this thing of you need to go with your gut, like your maternal instinct, because no one in this world knows your kid better than you do. And if you feel like there's something really wrong, like you need to check it out.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I can just press this a little bit further, then, do you think there's any merit then, or does this theory hold any weight that like maybe on some level like men are envious of that and so they resent it in women, and maybe that's why like
men
witchcraft
can't make life.
I mean men don't carry life, right? And there's that whole theory of like the envy of women, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't know, I'm just pressing on this a little bit. Like, is there anything to that? And maybe that's why that has been historically tied to like maligning women as witches because of like a woman's intuition, quote unquote.
Well, right. So there's maternal instinct and then there's women's intuition. And then like women's intuition, I feel like is bad, maybe. And maternal instinct is like natural because women are supposed to be mothers. Like keep your magic to the household, right? Like cook nice things for me.
Right.
Let me sleep with you. Give me sons. And, raise those sons. And it's good. And, you can be as connected to them as you want. But then, like, that's the limit of your power, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it ends at the front door. Whereas, like, women's intuition, I feel like it's a little broader. And it speaks to, like, every woman. And maybe that's not as safe. And we don't want that getting out of hand. But, like, the maternal instinct is, I don't know. But there's always something, like... And I honestly feel like there's like a little bit of pressure on women to be psychic. Is that weird?
No, this is what I mean.
Like,
this is what I mean.
There's this weird thing of like, oh, you're not psychic? Aren't you a woman?
Yeah.
Like, well, no, I'm not.
I'm sorry. I thought you were a woman.
This is what I'm saying. I
saw you buying tampons the other day. You having any visions lately?
Right.
And it's like, well,
no.
Well,
it also ties back into what Anthony was saying about like women. They're not that they have to be, but just... Women are thought of as being more tied to domesticity than men. Think about in practical magic, they like do all their work in the kitchen. The kitchen is where the work happens.
Well, okay, so I'm looking at this in two ways. One, the domestic aspect of it, right? Where it's like it's also a way of binding women to that that realm. But also, I'm looking at it as a way to sort of write off or denigrate any woman for being knowledgeable, for being shrewd, clever, good with money, good with whatever, and just being like, oh, that's women's intuition. That's magic nonsense that she has in her. That's just magic that she's got, like all women. And it's like, well, maybe she's just smart, or maybe she's observant, or maybe she's just like been around and she has experience and, oh, God forbid, wisdom, right? So it's like, I do also feel like as empowering as like the witch icon is to feminism, it's like a weird form of feminism that's still... restrictive because it falls into the categories that men have like allowed women's power to flourish, which is you're not smart, you're just intuitive, or you're not shrewd, you had a feeling about it and you went with your gut. It's like women they can't be in the like mental, like cerebral sphere. They have to be in like this embodied sphere, right? Where it's like it's coming from their gut, it's coming from their, not from their brain, it's coming from their like body, their uterus.
Going back to Ghostbusters, they're scientists. They create in the 2060 version. It's a woman who creates a proton pack, which is a very phallic thing, right? I'm just going with it. Like these are some of the reasons why, because I knew some sexist guys who were so put off by the idea of female Ghostbusters, like literally, like on a deep level, they were like.
I also want to say, and I guess we'll get into this when we get into the episode in a few weeks.
Sure.
2016, I always think of as like the failed year of the woman because that was the election. That was the Hillary Clinton election. And I think that like what you were just saying reminded me a lot of like when Hillary was the candidate and running for president, it was like there was people who were like, she's a woman, she can't possibly handle the presidency.
Yeah.
And then just as many people saying like, we need a woman president because women are better with stuff like this than men are. And it's like, both of those are kind of sexist and wrong.
You're wrong no matter what, because it's like, oh, she's too soft or sensitive or not like, rational enough because she's a woman. And then others like, oh, wait, she's cold and rational. And like, what kind of woman is she if she's like this? There must be something wrong with her. So you truly cannot win.
Yeah.
So a witch that just came to my mind.
Hillary Clinton is a witch.
A witch that just came to my mind when you were talking about raising sons, and that's your job, is
That is my job.
Morgana from Excalibur, from the Arthurian myth.
Okay.
Right? She
gives Arthur a son.
Right. And
but it's a dark son.
Right. And she's a witch, but she's like her investment is this son.
Yeah.
Which is a little Game of Thronesy too.
Yeah.
Like you have an evil son.
Yeah. I have an evil son.
So yeah, true.
So
putting
he
motherhood
bowed to the queen from Snow White.
So it was actually adorable, but he went like this.
I mean,
and he had just told me the week before that when he saw her, he was going to, and I quote, put her right in the garbage. And then when he met her, he bowed to her, and Janine texted me, she was like, he bowed like a sniveling servant.
He did multiple times.
Did she react to it?
He kept bowing, and then she looked at the like person who handles like the photo section, and she goes, "Did you tell him to do this? It needs some work, but it's not bad."
I love it.
I was like, "Oh,
I love
she's
it.
Great." Peter screamed and ran from her, and she was giving him the most vicious side eye in all the pictures.
That evil queen meet and greet is such a drag show for kids.
Yeah.
It really is. Henry had the biggest smile on his face, and he was like, "I'm meeting my hero."
I can't stop thinking now about the connection between witchiness and motherhood or procreation. Or like the evil queen, like she's not really Snow White's mother, right? She did not have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like how dare you be a woman who grows old without having children?
Right.
You must be a witch. You haven't done the one thing you're supposed to do.
Right, yeah. And die doing it.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Like in the craft, right. Well, she gave her life to have a kid.
So does Snow White's mom. She dies in childbirth as well.
Yeah.
And I'm probably just thinking about this because I'm teaching it right now. But like, even if you look at The Handmaid's Tale, the novel, not the TV show, because I'm not that familiar with the TV show, but in the book, like the whole premise of that is that something happens where women suddenly become infertile, and then because women suddenly become infertile, the go-to reaction in the United States is we need to take their rights away, right? So it's like they become second-class citizens because they are no longer able to bear children.
Yeah.
And it's quickly turns into a dystopian society, so much so that the narrator, who is a young woman, was alive in times that were like ours, and now is living in this dystopian future.
Right.
And like Canada's still fine.
Yeah, like that's the crazy thing about The Handmaid's Tale is like Canada's still fine, and then there's that scene where the Japanese tourists are like watching and taking photos of the handmaids, like,
wow, yeah.
And then they ask, "Are you happy?" Like, it's not happening anywhere outside of the U.S.
Yeah, that's wild. Do you think there's something witchy about Sex in the City? And this is my final question.
Ooh, aside from the Sarah Jessica Parker connection,
aside from that,
right? I feel like Samantha would be the witch. Right? I mean, Samantha has a witch's name. Bewitched is Samantha. But I feel like she's the oldest of them, unmarried, childless.
She's the supreme of the couple.
She's the spinster. She's the spinster.
She's campy. She hasn't had children.
Wears a wig.
Oh,
come on. Wait, gets up in front of a crowd and takes her wig off.
When you were saying just before about like how dare you be a woman and not have kids,
right.
I think of the episode where she's trying to get the breast cancer treatment, and you know there's always that like she's like the slut of all of them, right. And she's saying, I feel like I'm being punished for not having children, and now my own body is punishing me for this. And then she has like this turnaround because the other woman there is like, oh no, I don't have kids either, and she's like, she's a nut. She's like, you have none. And she's like, no, I am a nut. It's such a great. I love that scene between the two of them. And so she's like, you've never had sex. You've never had sex over and over again. So it's like vindicating her and being like, it doesn't have anything to do with your sexuality. Maybe it has something to do with you not having kids, but like you're certainly not being punished for anything. And it kind of clears the air about that. But they do, I do feel like they grapple with it a little bit.
You know, it's interesting. I never would have thought about that, but since you bring it up in the context of what we've been talking about, like this idea that like women being of a certain age and single and being like hedonistic and like they're sort of like revelers, right?
Themselves that in like one of the early in season 1, she goes, "We look like the witches of Eastwick," because they're all wearing black
at the wedding.
Yeah, and you look at the archetypes.
We should have done witches of Eastwick
in that group. Yeah, I thought about that. If you look at like the archetypes in that group, you've got like the older one. She's like the
crone.
You've got the crone. She's the Endora, right? You've got like the young innocent one. She's like a Glinda. You know what I mean? Like you've got well, now in the new show she's overtly queer, okay, but like
It's like the Hermione.
yeah.
A lot of witch archetypes there, I guess. So why 90? Like, what was happening at that point in the 90s?
was
There's so many witches. Yeah, I guess. Was it second or third at that
no,
point?
it's coming into third. But
Yeah.
there's also in that time outside of like intellectual circles, like pop culture girl power feminism, which is which is like second wave, third wave, boiled down.
Feather brain feminism.
It's like capitalist feminism. It's like we can sell feminism
Right.
now.
It's
Let's
Spice
do
Girl
it.
feminism.
It's Spice Girl feminism. I'm a Spice Girl feminist, right? Like I came of age at that point.
Right.
That was my first experience of feminism.
T-shirts that say like "Girls Rock." And
Yeah, like boys are the worst.
yeah. I guess that's what was going on.
Yeah. So at that moment.
We answered the question.
Well, guys,
that
I think
four
we-
non-blondes were asking. That's what was going on.
This has been PCMC, Pop Culture Man Children. This is Halloween 2022. I'm Mike Vajoto. I was joined today by Anthony and Janine. We end our episode by saying...
Go
bye-bye.